What's up, everyone? I'm Steven from the Hills Maniacs, and today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite TV series of all time, NCIS. If you're a fan of the show, you know that there is really only one character in the whole series that could technically be considered the main character of the series, and that is, of course, Special Agent Leroy Jetthro Gibbs. He is the leader of the team we follow throughout the series, and honestly feels like the most important character on the whole show, judging by the way he is constantly presented in every episode. He's the father figure and a mentor to a lot of the other characters, and even has the most mysterious past out of all of them, and is probably the most intriguing character. So it is because of his importance to the show that I've decided to sort of dive into the character of Gibbs and answer the question in the title of this video: does the NCIS series still need Gibbs? So grab your gear, pull out a large cup of calf pow, and sit back as I discuss one of the most iconic characters in TV history. So when you look at the entire NCIS series, probably the person that everybody thinks of the most is actually Gibbs, because he's in every episode. He's been here since the beginning. While the rest of the cast has kind of changed, Gibbs has still been here. He's definitely meant to be the main character, and he's the one who, like I said, has the most mysterious past. He has things from people from his past have come and gone from the show so many different times. It's hard to keep track of a lot of what exactly went on in his past and all these other things. And they really make him out to be the most important character. And that, honestly, for me, is kind of a problem, because they've had 18 seasons, going on 19 this coming Monday, and all throughout those 18 seasons, we've pretty much only been shown the life of Gibbs. We haven't really gotten to delve too far into the lives of some of the other characters, like Anthony DiNozzo used to be on there. McGee is on there now. We know some of their history and some of what they're going through now, and their lives currently and everything else, but Gibbs has still been the one that has been the most talked about throughout the series. People from his past have become regulars on the show, or criminals from his past are targeting the rest of the team, and then he has to stop them and everything else. It's always something about Gibbs. It always has been. And even when Gibbs retired back in season 3, or at the end of season 3, he retired from NCIS, I was like, okay, well, this is going to take the show in a different direction. I'm kind of intrigued by this. I kind of want to see Gibbs, what Gibbs does while he's retired, but he's kind of still a mentor figure, and he's still giving advice to these people. But then they just kind of put Gibbs back on the show again at the start of season 4. He was not, DiNozzo was in charge of the team, but Gibbs came back at the end of the first episode of season 4, and it was kind of well, that's no fun now. I feel like Gibbs has been on here too much, and that's kind of made it sort of a problem and kind of repetitive, honestly. I'm glad, at least now I've heard that Gibbs isn't going to be on the show as much. He's kind of take on the Ducky role, where he's not featured as much anymore, and that's a good thing, I feel because it will give us time to connect with the other characters. They're bringing in new cast members now and everything else, but we also still have McGee, who will, I guess, now be the senior field agent. He'll take on the role of Gibbs, being in charge of the team and everything else. And I feel like that's what this show needs, to sort of be a fresh reboot kind of thing, is to have these other characters, take on the mantle and everything, while Gibbs kind of just fades away. He can still be on the show, just not be as impactful and not be, on there constantly. I'd like to see it where maybe almost a whole season without Gibbs, just to see how different it feels. But you can still feel the shreds of what he's done, how he's taught his team, the things he's taught McGee about leadership and everything else. You can still see that come into play, but we don't need to see Gibbs for that. I feel like this series has focused way too heavily on Gibbs. Like everything that they do revolves around whether or not Gibbs approves of it. Gibbs bends the rules a little bit and all this other stuff. Every case they've ever taken on, pretty much, I'd say 95% of the cases they've taken on in this show have had something to do with Gibbs. Even like people who aren't normally on the show know who Gibbs is. Like even FBI agent Tobias Fornell, knows Gibbs. He's been friends with Gibbs and all this other. Like, so everybody that works not just in NCIS, but like in other organizations like the FBI, CIA, they all know who Gibbs is. So it's like, why do we need to keep seeing Gibbs all the time? Like everything about the show should have just been called Gibbs. It's been too long with focusing on Gibbs, and I think it's time for a little bit of a break. And I honestly feel like this season could maybe go 5 or 6, or this series, could maybe go like 5 or 6 more seasons without Gibbs at the helm of it. Like I think McGee being in charge kind of makes it feel fresh. He's a bit younger than Gibbs is and everything else, so like. Plus, they keep adding new cast members to kind of give it a new coat of paint, so to speak. I think that's the best. That's going to make this show like really stand out. Is it can continue on without focusing a whole bunch on Gibbs and everybody else. It's kind of the same problem with like Law and Order SVU, where it started focusing on Olivia Benson like way too much. Like now it's basically just this is her life. Like let's focus on this rather than what the premise of the show is supposed to be, a team of investigators, investigating crimes and things like that. That's what NCIS was meant to be as well. But it kind of feels like Gibbs is the main character and everyone else is just side pieces and things like that. And I feel like that's been dragging the show down, and it felt a little repetitive to me. And plus, Gibbs has almost died, like, so many times in this show. Like, no offense to... I like Gibbs as a character, but, like, every time he's been shot or whatever, I'm like, I kind of want to see how he deals with this. Like, I want to see a whole season where he's, like, in the hospital, or he can never walk again or something because of something that happened or whatever, just to see how Gibbs would sort of cope with that. Like, can he stay an investigator while he's injured and all this other stuff? But they never do that. It's always just Gibbs kind of pulls through, in like 2 or 3 episodes, he's back on his feet again. Like, I kind of want to see something new with this show, but they keep just like continuing to feed us Gibbs. Like I'm okay with Gibbs as a character. I feel like kind of what they started to do in season 18 was they had him sort of, because he got himself suspended indefinitely from NCIS, and then we got to kind of explore what he does when he's not working at NCIS. Like now he's kind of a private investigator. He's helping this woman who works for like a newspaper or whatever, like investigate something, and that's what caused, if you saw the end of season 18, he got blown up in his boat, but survived, of course. So I kind of like the direction they were going there, with Gibbs no longer being part of NCIS, and now I feel like as the show itself, I don't think it needs Gibbs anymore. I feel like we've had enough of Gibbs and enough of an impact made by Gibbs that we'll still remember him as a character. And even he can keep popping up and it'll still be iconic. Like, oh, Gibbs is back for one episode, and they can use that as, like to tune into the next episode. Gibbs is here. Even if he just pops in and like helps them with something or gives advice to the characters, which is what he's always done. They all come to him for advice when they don't know what to do in their own life or whatever. It's not just advice on a case, it's life advice, everything else. Like, that's the role Gibbs should be now. I don't feel like he needs to be the leader of NCIS anymore. I don't think the series needs to revolve around Gibbs anymore. I think we should move on from Gibbs and let's take the show in some new directions and see where it goes. Like, if you think about all the other spin-off series, like NCIS New Orleans and Los Angeles, even those kind of connected to Gibbs because they know who Gibbs is. Like, even Agent Pride, who's the leader of the team on New Orleans, like, I guess he worked with Gibbs in the past or something like that. Like, even those are connected to Gibbs, but they're their own series. Now, like, Gibbs isn't on the show, as there were some crossovers, but, like, they were doing fine on their own. They don't have Gibbs in the show. So I feel like regular NCIS could also do that. I feel like it would be just fine without having Gibbs on it any longer. Like I'm okay with like a minimal role, which is where I think they're going. I think it was announced that like Mark Harmon's not going to be on the show as much anymore. So Gibbs probably won't be in every episode, but even starting off this new season, they're still going to they're looking for Gibbs after the explosion and everything else, trying to figure out what happened. So I'm wondering if Gibbs will still kind of end up in the hospital or something like that, or running away or something. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I'm kind of looking forward to a fresh start for NCIS. So to answer the question in the title of this video, does NCIS still need Gibbs? I want to say no. I don't think it does. I think it can move on without him and still be successful and still be the big hit drama that it is on TV. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. Do you think Gibbs is still an essential character on the show? Or should he step down and let someone else kind of have take that main character slot? Also, if you haven't seen it yet, go check out the video I did a while back where I predicted how I think Gibbs gets his boat out of his basement. It was really fun to put that video together, and for everyone that did watch the video, I just want to say thank you. It was the most viewed video on our channel so far, which actually surprised me. So thank you for all the support with that particular video to everyone out there who watched it. And also be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this. And stay tuned, because next week I'll be doing a review of the first episode of NCIS Hawaii, which is on right after NCIS begins. And I'll give my thoughts on how I think the series will go overall, like whether or not I think it's going to be a success or not. It's another spin-off, so we'll see how it goes. So if you're a fan of NCIS and you're going to watch that show as well, then stay tuned next Saturday where I'll give my review of that. So thank you for watching this video, everyone, and I will see you in the next one.
Subscribe.